Welcome to the 2015-2016 NBA preview. Big shout out to Bill and Jalen for the inspiration of this series. My name is Josh, or Enviers, and with me is my co-host.
What is up, YouTube? It is the one and only legend of winning, aka Low. And before we get into it, most definitely shout out to Bill and Jalen for doing this.
Trying to be a great torchbearer.
That's what I was looking for. That's what we're trying to do, and hopefully we do it correctly, and we get the views like they did.
So what this NBA preview will consist of on my channel, it will be our predictions of the best to worst teams in the regular season in this upcoming season. 30th being the worst team record-wise, and first being the best team record-wise. We're going to be covering 30 teams in 30 days, from worst to best. Today's team is the Philadelphia 76ers, which we have ranked at number 30. So let's jump in right away to what the Philadelphia 76ers did last season. Last season, they had Rookie of the Year Michael Carter-Williams, KJ McDaniels, and drafted Joel Embiid. Traded away Michael Carter-Williams and KJ McDaniels because they were doing fairly well. They wanted to do a little bit worse.
Can't do too good when you're in the 76ers. If you're doing too good, you got to leave, because at that point, you're not helping what the end motive is, and the end motive is tanking. So if you're not helping tanking, then you gotta go. We winning way too many games, being way too efficient and productive. You gotta go. You gotta get up out of here, yo.
Joel Embiid, on the other hand, is doing a very, very well job in letting the Philadelphia 76ers tank. News is that Joel Embiid will be out for basically another entire season with the right foot injury. Joel Embiid is the big question because, well, he was the number 3 draft pick a year ago, and he hasn't played a single game. Similar to Nerlens Noel, he was a 6th pick, traded away to Philadelphia. He didn't play the entire season, but he got it right the next season. He had a nice season, if I do say so myself. And at one point, they even put his name with the Rookie of the Year contentions, which was very, very odd to me.
It was crazy. I don't know where they came from with that, but I mean, for a fact, it's going to be extremely interesting to try to see how they're going to implement Joel Embiid into the rotation now, because at this point, with the draft pick with Jahlil Okafor and Joel Embiid, I don't know how that's going to really work out. But as long as Joel Embiid is sitting on that bench and not winning no games, he most definitely is doing what he's supposed to do for this team, and that's lose games.
Which brings us to what the Philadelphia 76ers did this summer. If we take a look at the acquisitions by Philadelphia, they have acquired Nick Stauskas, Gerald Wallace's contract, Carl Landry, and Pierre Jackson, who was a standout rookie in Summer League last season until he tore his Achilles.
The thing that a lot of people got to know is Gerald Wallace and that contract. They only acquired Gerald Wallace's contract just so they can meet the minimum requirement of money that they have to spend each and every year. They're finding loopholes in the system, but that's the only reason why they have Gerald Wallace. Please do not expect him, if you're a Gerald Wallace fan, don't expect him to touch a foot on that court, because he might be a tad bit too good. But
they're paying more money to be worse. Speaking of which, they lost Jason Richardson finally, and they obviously lost a lot more fans. If we take a look at the draft picks that they drafted this year, Jahlil Okafor at number 3, a kid called Holmes at number 37, and JP Tokoto at 58, who in my opinion is a really good player at that pick.
Here's the thing though, if he's too good, he's gonna have to leave for another draft pick, because that's how they do it over there. But
that is true.
I will say this about Jahlil Okafor: he could potentially change the way that players are playing the game right now in the NBA. I don't want to put that much on him, but the way that people are playing small ball in today's NBA, I sat there and watched Mozgov feast on the boards in the NBA Finals as if he was Dennis Rodman in his prime, and then turn around and put up some of the easiest shots I've ever seen as if he was Shaq. And just to see and acknowledge how much of a gap there is inside this team, potentially, it may be 4 or 5 years, but potentially could really, really do damage.
Now that we covered the summer acquisitions, we're going to be looking at the terrible, terrible rotation of the Philadelphia 76ers. If we take a look at the starters, they got Okafor, Noel, Covington, Grant, and Tony Roden. And none of these guys really starters for a championship team.
No, none of them. I mean, maybe not Okafor now, but we'll see where he's
not now. Yeah. Maybe in a few years, but definitely none of these guys now.
Yeah, none of them.
Moving on to their bench, we got Joel Embiid, who's sitting there with an injured right foot. Carl Landry, Jakar Sampson, Nick Stauskas, and my guy Pierre Jackson. Nick Stauskas and Pierre Jackson are my standout, obviously. Here's hoping Nick Stauskas can turn it around with the Philadelphia 76ers. I doubt he's going to make any noise, and if he does, he'll most likely be traded, like we covered earlier. Which leads us to the question.
Now, everybody, what the question is, it's a point of time of the video where we're going to ask you, the viewer, a question about the team. A question that, that lingers in my mind and everybody else's mind that people want to know about this team. And the question for the 76ers is tanking a big issue? Now, in the NBA, tanking has been it seems like it's getting bigger and bigger. The ideal of tanking to get draft picks, it seems like it's becoming something that everybody is at least attempting to do, especially over the past 5 to 7 years. And for some teams it works, for some teams it doesn't. You can say for the 76ers, because they haven't received the number 1 pick, it's not really working out too much for them. But Josh, do you think tanking is a big issue in the NBA? And if it is, do you have any solutions for it?
Teams that have tanked previously to get a number 1 franchise guy would be the Spurs. Are the best example for that. David Robinson was hurt. They decided to just go all in and be terrible. That being that terrible led to one of the greatest power forwards of all time and a great franchise player. Their 76ers did not get that the 3 years they've been tanking. The Andrew Bynum trade really messed them up, and ever since then, I don't know what they've been doing. They haven't gotten the number 1 pick at all. There's been teams worse than them, even though if they're literally trying to be the worst team in the NBA, while other teams are trying to win and still are ending up being worse than the 76ers.
After your 3rd year of being in the top 5 or projecting the top 5 draft pick, your percentage of getting a number 1 draft pick should then drop, regardless of if you are good or not. At that point, if you're projected to be in the top 5 in a draft, your percentage should drop if you're doing this 3 years in a row. And at that point, I think it will really force teams and GMs to put a really, really solid team out there on the floor, at least for the fans and for everybody trying to show support. I think it's just crazy that Philly doesn't have a good basketball team to actually root for, and it's just because they're trying to tank their way to the top.
So with that said, let's wrap up this video with a quick prediction on what we believe will happen with the Philadelphia 76ers this season.
Off rip, Nerlens Noel is probably going to get traded. It's kind of inevitable. I don't really see how that rotation works. I'm not really sold on this whole tanking idea, and I don't think it's going to work for them again. I hope it doesn't, so they can actually piece something around Jalen Okafor.
Did they give up on Embiid already?
If you think about Embiid, you have to wait. Now at this point, now it's a 2-year problem, because now you have to go. This season is now washed.
You have to wait until Embiid, and then you have to wait till he gets back, see how well he plays with Okafor or Noel, depending on who gets traded where.
A lot of people was complaining about the Michael Carter Williams trade, even though they are tanking, and it's clear. I agree with that trade mainly because he just doesn't fit with this type of a playing style. If they're moving forward with Jahlil Okafor or Joel Embiid for that matter, they have to be able to shoot and stretch the floor. Michael Carter Williams at this point is like 24, 25, and he still is unable to shoot the ball. So I understand that. But they're moving forward with Jahlil Okafor. I just can't see Joel Embiid being the face of the franchise at this point.
So with that said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching the first ever NBA preview video on my channel covering the Philadelphia 76ers. Any last words?
We want to hear y'all thoughts on what we're saying. It is our opinion. You might differ in opinion, and share the video for sure.
With that said, tune in tomorrow to see who the 29th worst team will be.
Bye, guys.